Happy Wednesday, everyone. I had to think about it really quick. It is Wednesday, right? It is 73 degrees. Now I can't even talk. 73 degrees. Let's go pick up my son. Good grief. I had it all planned out what I wanted to talk about. And now I forgot. Just from the door to the car, I forget. I was looking for the moon right now, and I'm like, I don't see it. Last night, I did record, and I got a video of this, star or planet, and I was talking in the video, and I'm looking for that, too. It only shows up when it wants to, and it'll be, on this side, but it's not there. So, I don't know what the deal is with that. And by the way, you all, I trimmed my ends myself. So now I don't have the 60s ponytail. Now I have the Sandy from Grease ponytail. Which is ironic. It's very ironic. Some of you all get that. You all know. When you know, you know. And, so now I'm like, oh, look how cute. It looks like Sandy from Grease. It's like, Danny, what's happened to you, Danny? Is that what she says? I don't even remember anymore. I stopped watching Grease after 500 times. I don't want to watch it anymore. And my husband, for some reason, anytime... Oh, so the son drives? You're driving? Oh, wow. Sorry, it's my neighbor. And, I did not know that her son drove. My son needs to get on the ball. My younger son. That way I can finally stay at home and not have to drive anymore at night. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, the husband. Anytime they show Grease, he makes it a point to tell me, babe, they're showing Grease. It's on CMT. Or they're showing Grease. It's on MTV2 or whatever. Wherever they're showing it. I'm like, okay, thank you. I'm just letting you know so you can watch it. I'm like, I've been watching that movie since I was an infant, you don't have to tell me anymore. I'm good. I had the album even. I had the album for Grease and Grease 2. And I really liked Grease 2. I liked the music a lot better. I liked Michelle Pfeiffer in it. I like the guy. I don't know what he looks like now, but at that time I liked him. I really, especially that song, let's do it for our country, the red, white, and the blue. I can't sing as high as a girl does, but, I really liked that movie. I don't know if y'all remember. Anyhow, why am I talking about Grease? Okay, let's just get to it already, because if not, I'm going to forget. So, I talked about yesterday how I was going to get the memo, right? The mammogram. And I said, I'll let you all know how it went. Well, I no longer believe in websites and what they tell me. Because this place that I went to, I'm glad it's done and over with, mind you. But this place that I went to, it had 4.8 stars. I'm like, okay, this must be a really great... Everybody had really good things to say about this place. Except for one person, and this was a guy. He said that they called him an hour later or something to go in. And let me lower this a bit. And I was like, okay, well, maybe that was just him, right? So I get there, And let me take off my seatbelt so I can move around more freely. I get there and I see the outside of the building and I'm like, wait a minute. This building is old. And I'm like, well, maybe it looks nice inside. Because some buildings are deceiving also. You know, some buildings, and like how they say don't judge a book by its cover. Some buildings look old on the outside, but in the inside they're actually really nice and fixed up, right? Wrong. I go in and I'm like, what is this place? Like, ew. I think they had the heater on because you could hear, like, you can hear the air in my car right now, right? But it was warm air in there, and I was like, holy cow, why is it so hot in here, right? And I go and I check in. Very nice receptionist. And she, got my credentials right away. She gave me the form that I need to fill out. I got there 30 minutes early. My appointment was at 2:30, so I got there right at 2. And I got there because I was thinking maybe they're going to have me sign all this paperwork. That way I'll have time, right? But no, it was just a simple form with basic information, and that was it. There was no, like, history of this or that or whatever. So I'm like, this is good, and I went and I turned it in, and she's like, okay, well, they'll be with you. Why does everybody have to look at me in my car? Why? Yes, there is someone in this car, and it's me. Go get your sandwich. Anyway, so she tells me, the receptionist tells me, here you go, ma'am. Miss Moon. Let's call me Moon instead of my real name. And she says, just to let you know that it will be a little while longer because there's going to be a longer wait, is what she said. Because the person in front of you that just had a mammogram done, they found something and we needed a specialist to come in just to make sure he's going to review the images and also talk to the patient. That's not something I want to hear. I was just like, whoa, okay, yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine, I'll wait. And I went and I sat down and I'm like, holy crap, like, that's not good. And I felt so bad for whoever that was. I never saw anybody come out. So I have no idea who this person was or what happened. Excuse me. So I'm sitting there and I'm starting to get anxious, because I'm wondering, like, oh my God, what if? You start thinking these things, right? Then I'm scrolling through my phone to get my mind off of my thoughts, and I'm going through X and everything, and oh my God, there's only so much scrolling I can do. And then they started playing Forrest Gump. And even though I have seen that movie many times, I didn't mind it this time. So I was watching Forrest Gump, and it was already 2:30. They still hadn't called me in, and I was like, don't panic, like, surely they'll be finishing up with this other person soon. You'll be all right. Things are going to be okay for her too. Just don't panic, Finally, at 3 o'clock, they called me in. Oh, and by the way, while I was in the waiting room, men kept coming in to check in for their appointments. That's another thing that threw me off, because I thought this was like a woman center. I didn't know this was for men as well. Like, I know men can also get mammograms, but yeah, they weren't there for mammograms. So then I looked up the place on my phone again, and apparently I overlooked that they do CT scans, regular x-rays, echograms, and I don't know what else. And I was like, oh, okay. So Oh, and while I was waiting in the waiting room watching Forrest Gump, I was rearranging their furniture in my mind because I just didn't like the way it was set up. And I felt it could have been a little bit more of a feminine touch to it, you know? I didn't like it. I just didn't like it, okay? The car next to me is parked way behind me. The truck that just parked next to me is like way up in front. Am I the one that is not parked correctly? Like, I don't understand. Look you all. I'll show you. I'm here. See how far back that car is? Hopefully this truck is not watching. But see how far in front the truck is? And I'm like over here in the back. And I'm like, okay, am I the one that's off? I don't know. But anyhow, they finally called me back there. So I'm like, oh, good, you know. The lady was an older lady. She knew both English and Spanish. She was the sweetest lady ever. However, when she took me to the room in the back where she was going to do this procedure, right? I guess it's a procedure. I don't know. We go back there and it didn't look nice at all. It didn't even look like a clinic. It looked like a hot mess. It was a mess. And I'm like, great, you know. She's like, go ahead and have a seat here. I'm going to ask you some questions. And I was like, okay. And that's when she started asking, like, do you smoke? Anybody in your family ever have breast cancer? You know, your typical questions. And, you know, I'm like, no. And then she's like, okay, let me take you to the changing room. And you're going to go ahead and put that robe on that's right there. You're only going to remove your blouse and your bra and put the robe on. And then I'll be waiting for you out here. As soon as you're ready, you can come out and meet me up where we did the questions. And then, you know, I'll take you to the back. And I said, okay. So the changing room was small and messy. The trashes were overflowing. The last time that I had a mammogram, they had me use a wipe under my arms just to make sure that I didn't have any deodorant, because that's another thing. When you go get a mammogram done, they're very strict with that, and they tell you no perfume, no lotions, no deodorant, no jewelry, right? Anything above the waist. I mean, you can't have any of that on. And so, let me just say that I took a shower before I went. I went to go pick up a pizza, but rather than getting all smelly and sweaty, I did put a tad bit of deodorant. When I got back with the pizza and before I actually left for the appointment, I took a washcloth with a little bit of soap and I cleaned my underarms and wiped it off, you know, and then dried my underarms to make sure that I had no deodorant on whatsoever. And then I took off for the appointment. So I'm there and I'm looking around in this room and I'm like, gross, you know, like this is sickening. Why don't y'all have any air freshener in here? Have a better table. I would prefer a paper gown and not this robe that I don't know who's been in it already today, you know? So I'm like, crap, you know, I'm gonna have to put this robe on. So I put the robe on. You all, it smelled like pits. I'm not kidding you. I know it's disgusting. I could not wait to take this robe off, and I had just put it on. So I'm like, great. So then I put it on. I trying not to let it touch me very well, you know, and I'm ready, you know. And she takes me to the room that's further in the back. So we go in there. The machine itself, I would have liked to, she was wearing gloves, but I would have liked to have seen her wipe it off in front of me. I don't think that machine was wiped off in front of me. I could see marks all over this machine. I could see somebody else's breast on this machine. And I'm like, oh my God, do I want to continue or do I want to walk out? And I'm like, ah. And I was just like, you know, and I didn't know how to ask this lady, you know, can we wipe off the machine? You know, can I get a wipey from the other room and, you know, wipe it off? You know, I was trying my best to behave. I was trying my best to be, I behaved. I behaved so well that I thought I deserved a sticker afterwards, because I'm like, who else is going to keep their mouth shut as much as I did? So we start with the left breast, okay? And we put it on the machine, and I'm like, gross. You know, it feels cold and wet and yucky. You know, I just didn't like the feeling, right? And I'm like, oh, it's just shut up, Moon. Just ignore it. Just count to 3 or whatever, you know. And then, with her gloved hands, she puts her hand right under my boob and pushes it even further onto this slide thing. And I'm like, okay, I'm getting groped now, you know. And I know that's her job, but yeah, no. And I'm like, great, you know. And I'm just like, no, ma'am. Like, I'm thinking to myself, ma'am, I don't even want to touch this machine. You didn't clean it. I don't want to touch it. I don't want my boob to touch it. It touched it, you know. So I'm like, great. And then she brings the thing down. I will say that it wasn't as bad as I thought. I thought it was going to squish the crap out of my boob. It didn't. It was actually, it was comfortable. It was tight, but it was comfortable. Then we go to the right boob. Same thing. Put the hand right under there. Make sure we push me all the way to the front. Squeeze it. She takes the x-ray or the image. And then she has to take it again because apparently I moved or it came out blurry. So we got to do it again. I'm like, great. And I didn't even move at that point. She took it again. She's like, okay, we're all done. And I was like, really? Well, she took like different positions, right? But it was only like 4 different positions. And then we were done. And I said, positions, like positions there. I know I talk a little bit weird, but positions is what I mean, you know? And, so I'm like, great. And she's like, you can go ahead and change back in the room and then I'll meet you up front again. And I said, okay. So I changed and I could not get the stench out of my nose. And it wasn't me that smelled. I smelled my pits. They didn't smell like the robe. Ugh. And let me just also say that some ladies with bigger boobs, I think I'm happy with my size, okay? My size is perfect for this shelf. They fit perfectly. Some ladies have really huge boobs. They sweat under those boobs. They smell under those boobs. Why do you think you see those commercials where you have to put that deodorant on Lumi, whatever, you know, for them to put it on? Because, you know, and it's not something they can help. It's just, it happens. It happens. So I'm not shaming those women with big boobs by any means. But this robe smelled like that, okay? The machine smelled like that. I ended up smelling like that. I could not wait to get home and shower. I got home, I showered, I washed my body 2 times, and I could not get that smell out of my nose. I put, once I got out of the shower that I dried myself, I put my deodorant on, normal. In fact, I think I double put deodorant. And I put my lotion, my body lotion, and then I put some Bath and Body lotion with a scent on it. Then I sprayed myself, and I did wash with the Bath and Body lotion in the shower after I washed with soap twice. Okay? I still couldn't get the smell out of my nose. And I'm like, holy crap, what do I gotta do here? And then I felt like I smelled it in my hair, and I had just washed my hair that morning. Because I'm like, I'm not gonna go with smelly hair. I'm gonna I want to smell fresh, And I was like, am I gonna have to wash my hair again? Like, oh my God, why can't I get this smell out of my... It lasted all night. And it wasn't until this morning that I woke up that I finally couldn't smell that smell anymore. I finally smelled myself, my own lotion, my own body odor, And I was like, oh, thank God, But I took off my bra that I wore and I washed it today too, twice. I washed it with my clothes, and then I did my son's clothes, and I threw it in there again. I could not believe how bad that place smelled. And I can't believe that they did not wipe that machine. They didn't spray any Lysol anywhere in that room. It was filthy. That place was filthy. And I was so tempted to leave a bad review, but I'm like, no, Moon. No, they're going to send you results in 5 days. You leave a bad review, they're going to know it's you, and they're going to probably take longer, and just don't do it, Moon. Just go with the flow. Let them send it when they're going to send it in 5 days so that you can get your refills. That's what I kept telling myself. I wanted to tell my cousin, because now, miraculously, remember I told you all that my cousin didn't want to get hers? She got really pissed when I told her she needed one too. We see the same gyno. And she said, nope, I'm going to go sign the waiver. And I'm not going to do it. And she was determined, she's not going to, she preferred a colonoscopy over a breast exam. Come on now. Anyway, over the mammogram, I mean. And I would prefer the mammogram over the colonoscopy, really, girlfriend? Anyway, there's something there. I don't know. But yesterday she says, well, I've decided to go ahead and get it done. I'm going to call the DHR, which is this hospital that's nearby. And they're open on Saturday, so I'm going to get it done on Saturday since I work during the week. And, she's telling me all about it, right? And I'm like, good, I'm glad. Let me know how it goes. And I was about to tell her how my appointment went, right? But then she starts telling me about the boyfriend, and the boyfriend this, and the boyfriend that. I'm like, oh, here we go. So, and then she was worried because the boyfriend never texted her back, and never called her back, and she called him and he's probably upset, and she was all worried about that. And I had to hear all about it, so I didn't get to tell her about that. So that was our conversation. Then the husband calls me, and I told him a little bit about the appointment, and he's like, well, what did they tell you? And I said, well, they'll send my results to the doctor, and then they'll send them to me as well, because they did tell me they would email me my results as well. I said, but they don't tell me anything right away, which is a good thing, because apparently the one in front of me, and I explained what happened to her, and I said, so I'm not going to, push it, I'll get it in 5 days. I'll let you know. And he told me he had just gotten off the phone with his parents. And if you all remember, I was telling you all that the parents were acting really sus, and he got mad at me, and he's like, everybody's sus to you, and they're not being sus, and it's just you, and all this. Well, it turns out that last week they went to Houston to a doctor, a specialist, because, and all the dad told him was that his mom was having trouble thinking. And I think he meant thinking clearly. Now, many months back, I'm not sure if I mentioned it here or not, but when we had a heart-to-heart, her and I, for the first time ever, I don't know what was going on, and you know what? It was in June. That's right. It was on my husband's birthday. They wanted to take my husband and I out to eat for his birthday, but my husband said no, that we had things to do, which I hate that he gets like that. His parents are trying to do something nice for him, and he says no. But anyway, it was that day, in fact, of his birthday, that we were there, and she was getting ready, and I was asking her, like, oh, you're getting ready? Are you guys going to go somewhere after this, or, what's going on? And she's like, no, we're going to go eat. We're taking you out to eat. And I was like, oh, well, that's very nice of you all. She's like, yeah, aren't you hungry? I am. And I could hear her stomach growling, and I was like, oh, wow. And I said, yeah, actually, I am getting hungry, and I said, that'll be good. My husband and his dad had gone to leave a chair at his nephew's house, So they were going to be a little bit, but as soon as they got back, they wanted to go eat, and I was like, perfect. And that's when she started having a heart-to-heart with me and, telling me about family troubles that she was having and how her son had told her other son, my husband's, it's my husband and then the brother, in that order, and then he's got a sister and then another sister. Or, no, I'm sorry, I'm getting so confused here. I think I have trouble thinking. It's my husband and then B, I'll call her B for her first name, and then his brother G for his first name, and then another girl, V, for her first name, And so she starts telling me how G told her that he hated her, that she ruined his life, and yada yada, because G had spent some time in jail. And I said, well, that's not your fault. That was his decision. How is that your fault? You didn't make him break the law, And she's like, I know, but he hates me. And he told me he hated me and that he only loved his dad. And she was telling me all this, and how her B's husband, which is her son-in-law, same thing. He doesn't like her. And then she starts telling me, and I was starting to question if she was being honest with me or if she was like being a little bit not in her right frame of mind, because then she starts telling me that she's been going to the doctor a lot. She had a spinal tap that was done, but they lost it. They lost a specimen at that place that she had it done, and they couldn't do another one. Apparently they can only do one. And I don't know if that's for physical reasons or insurance reasons. I have no idea, but I was telling her, well, I wouldn't go there again, all that, and then they lose it. That doesn't sound right, that doesn't sound like a very good doctor, and anyhow, she started telling me that they did all that because she was, and she recognized that she was hallucinating. She says, I see people outside the house, and they're trying to get in, and they're talking, and then they start arguing with each other because they can't get in. Now, mind you, this lady, his mother, she's not home alone. The husband is there with her all the time. Her husband is there with her all the time. She is never alone. So, that's kind of a relief. It is a relief, a big relief, because then we know, okay, she's not by herself. This isn't really happening. It's something that's going on in her mind. Also, another relief is that they have cameras outside, and they have a monitor in the inside where they can keep seeing scenes outside with these cameras. And they have them all over. They have them all around the house. So, and then they have them inside the house as well. So on this monitor, you can see the outside and the inside, you know? So that's a good thing. So we know that, okay, nobody's trying to break in. Nobody's been inside, you know. It is where they live. It's a gated community for the 50 plus. So, you know, they keep a very close, tight community and very well secured, you know. But, you know, it doesn't hurt to have cameras, you know, for your own, you know, peace of mind. And so anyhow, I asked her about those hallucinations when we all met up for breakfast. And this was like 3 months ago. Oh, excuse me, you all. I just yawned. Sorry, I put myself to sleep sometimes. So I asked her about these hallucinations, right? She says, oh no, they went away. I don't have them anymore. And I'm like, huh? Something like that happening doesn't just go away. And I knew it hadn't gone away. But they didn't want to discuss it any further. And now all of a sudden, poof, here we are. She's going to Houston to see a specialist for something going on in her mind. And I asked my husband, I said, has she been diagnosed with maybe like the first stages of Alzheimer's or dementia, anything like that, you know? God forbid any of that. My heart goes out to anyone that has a parent that's dealing with that, because it is very hard. I watch a creator who's both parents he has to take care of, and they're both, I think the mom is the one that has the Alzheimer's and the dad is just falling ill of age, you know, and it's been very hard on him. And oh my God, anytime he talks about it, it's like my heart breaks. I just want to like reach into the screen and give him a big hug, and, you know, even offer my help, like, hey, I'm not working, I'll go help you take care of your parents, you know, like, my God. So, I'm asking the husband this because I'm like, you know, husband, you know, I'm home all day, you know, and I could go help out for a couple of hours a day, you know, clean up for them, maybe even make a couple of meals, you know, and do the laundry, you know, whatever they need me to do, you know, so that your dad can just take your mom to her appointments because she feels safe with him at the appointments, and that way they don't have to worry about the work at home, you know. I'll do it. But the husband's like, I'll let you know, because right now his dad is just like, he's very overwhelmed by everything and is not sure what to do about anything, you know. And I'm very sure that he's very stressed and very worried about his wife and what the final prognosis is going to be and diagnosis, right? And what decision the family's going to have to make. Now, I feel that it's not as bad as what his dad is trying to make it be. And hear me out, you all. And I mean well with this. The reason I say this is because of the way she talks to me sometimes and the things that she tells me, and how upset she makes me sometimes. That's her. She's always been like that with me. So the fact that that hasn't gone away, it leads me to believe that she's okay. But for some reason, it's being really magnified, and she remembers conversations. She can have conversations. Nothing has really changed from what I've seen. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a nurse. But nothing has really changed in her that I've seen. All of these things that are coming up are either something that she's saying or that the dad is saying. Now, I did ask, when she was having these hallucinations, I did ask, are you taking any medications? Are you being sleep deprived? Yes to both. I got yes to both. You need to talk to your doctor about adjusting your medication. You need to let him know what's going on. You need to let him know that you're hallucinating. That went in one ear and out the other. From both of his parents. Okay. You know, it's their health, their body, their choice. Whatever they want to do. And now let me backtrack to that conversation that we were having, that heart to heart. She was telling me that the dad was telling her that she wasn't thinking right. So I'm kind of like wondering, like, okay, is this something that dad is trying to put in her head? Or is this something that's really going on in her head? I pray that those doctors in Houston that are helping her will find out. Here's another thing. My husband yesterday was telling me how upset he is because his parents are of age. His dad is driving his mom to Houston again next week on his own. He should not be driving that much of a distance from here to Houston, which I completely agree. However, I told my husband, I said, I completely agree with you, and it makes me mad too, because your sister from San Antonio who moved down here made it very clear to your family and even to me that she was moving down here to help her mother out. Where has your sister been? Why isn't your sister and her husband driving your parents to Houston? That is what she said she was coming down for. Yes, I understand she works. She has a very important job at the bank. She just transferred over here, but they know her there. Why can she not make an arrangement to take a day off? To take both of her parents on a 6-hour drive to Houston with her husband? That is what she said she was here for. And I kept emphasizing on that. Because this sister made it very clear that she was moving back down to take care of her mother. She has yet to lift a finger for her mother. The other sister that lives here, that's been living here, she can't do jack right now. She had to get a hernia surgery again. She had it last year on Thanksgiving, and then she had to have it again this year on Thanksgiving. I'm like, what? Again? Why? Apparently the mesh busted and she had to get surgery again. And I'm like, people, you gotta mesh. Even if you feel better, it doesn't mean go lift some chairs and a table. No. You don't do that. It will bust on you. It's happened to my older brother. You know, I'm going to need surgery soon on my hernia, my umbilical hernia. And hopefully I won't need a mesh. My cousin works with a specialist, and he does a laparoscopy. I finally got that word right. And she says, you don't always need a mesh. Sometimes they can just tighten up that area. They can just sew you up and that's it. And I said, oh God, I hope so. I hope that's all, because I really don't want that mesh. And she's like, but first things first, you need to be seen. He needs to evaluate you, and then he'll let you know from there. I said, okay. So I made plans. I said, you know, hopefully by the end of this month, I can go in for a consultation, have him look at me, and then you all can let me know what my part's going to be, you know, for the surgery. I'm not going to have the surgery this month for sure. It's Christmas. So I will have it sometime, you know, either January, February, March, somewhere around there. I would like to get it done soon. And then I started asking her, like, am I going to be able to do my bike, right? And she's like, no, not for at least a month. And I said, well, I understand that, like, 3 months, I'm going to be down for 3 months. I understand that, like, not to do anything, you know, too much movement that involves my abs. But would I be able to just walk at least? And she's like, oh, yeah, you know, after a month, you'll be able to walk around. In fact, it's encouraged while you're healing for you to be walking around. I mean, even on the first month, just try walking a little bit, you know, outside, you know, up and down the sidewalk if you can. And, you know, after that, gradually increase it, you know, go a little bit further and a little bit further. But yeah, you know, walking would be great. After the 3 months, get back on your bike. And I said, okay, yeah, because I don't want to get fat again. I said, I mean, I'm sorry. I don't mean to sound narcissistic by saying that. It's just that when I broke my ankle, you know, all the trouble I went through to lose so much damn weight, you know, and I gained so much damn weight. I gained 30 pounds when I broke my ankle, you know, not being able to do any type of exercise, you know, and it's like, I don't want to go through that again, you know. And I've already gained some weight. I was at 125 and now I'm at 135. I've gained 10 pounds. Now, some people are saying you look better. You don't look as gaunt. You know, you were looking really bad before. I actually preferred the 125. I like the way my clothes fit better. You know, and I'm not going to do the Ozempic. Similitude, any of that? No. Similitude, I don't know, however you say it. No. Have you all seen Kelly Osbourne? Yeah. I don't want to look like that. She went from looking 30 to looking like she's 60 years old now. No way. And I'm not making fun of the girl, knock on wood. I'm not making fun of her. But she looks unhealthy. She looks very unhealthy, very deprived. And she needs to get some food in her. Quick. And an IV. Anyhow, okay, that's all I got to say tonight. At least it wasn't a depressing video. Not like yesterday. Yesterday was a little bit depressing. I almost even cried. But I'm glad I changed it up today. Love you all. Thank you for listening. And I will talk to y'all again soon. Bye.